Visit Amazon.com to learn about my book, Astrology, realized in English and Spanish, and shop my website, NadiyaShah.com, for exclusive The Universe is Wise and Loving merchandise and my signature jewelry line, Astro Fabulous Jewelry. Enjoy. Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of March the 20th, 2016. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here, and happy astrological new year. Happy equinox to everybody out there. Happy sun going into the sign of Aries, marking an astrological new year. Happy International Astrology Day, happening at the top of the week as well. And of course, happy birthday to all the Aries out there. So think of this energy happening at the top of the week. It's fresh, it's beginning, it's growing light, it's illumination. It is awareness expanding more and more from this moment forward. That's happening right at the beginning of the week, but really one of the bigger events that is going to take place now is smack dab in the middle of the week. And that is because of a lunar eclipse and all the things happening around it. So we've got this lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Libra. And we've got the sun and Mercury standing across the sky from this eclipse. And you add to that these two planets, the sun and Mercury, speaking in supreme harmony with Mars. So Mars is speaking in harmony with this lunar eclipse as well. When a lunar eclipse takes place, it is an ending, okay? It is closure. It is really understanding who you no longer are, what you no longer need, what is finally behind you. And there tends to be an element of truth in a lunar eclipse. In fact, any full moon helps us to accept what we've known all along, helps us to finally admit what our instincts have been telling us, maybe even what our life has been telling us, but maybe we didn't fully grasp or appreciate, or maybe just we weren't ready to. And awareness, as we are ready, really is key. It's like one of the great blessings of the universe, I think, because when you truly are ready and that awareness comes, it makes all the difference. But if you're not ready for it, it can either overwhelm or it can just go right over your head. It won't mean anything. So we've got this wonderful eclipse taking place, and with Mercury involved in this to me says information, communication, insights, intellectual understanding that makes all the difference. There is that kernel of surprise in this, right? Because Mercury is an energy that can be very quick, and ancients would call Mercury, among many things, would call Mercury the trickster. So Mercury's been understood as a trickster throughout the world, throughout cultures. And as a trickster, that information can seem to come out of nowhere. That information can just maybe be hanging in the air for a long time, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes on and it's like, oh wow, okay, I get it. I get it. And however you want to call it, the shoe drops, the penny drops, the light clicks on. That is what is promised now. And with every beginning that takes place now, because we are going to be inspired to start to be empowered, we're going to be energized by what ends. There is still an ending. And so however you need to deal with that ending, it really is okay, but it looks overwhelmingly positive for a lot of people out there. Now that doesn't mean that everything is, life is this wonderful mix, right? And it's all about what you do with it. It's all about you deciding if you're going to use whatever it is that comes about to move you towards greater love and greater wisdom, yes, but also to understand how everything that's coming about is actually working to your advantage. Right along with the eclipse, we have Jupiter and Saturn having the second of three rare conversations to take place between these two planets. Now, the first one took place over the summer, right around the middle of the summer of 2015. The first of three took place. And now this week will be the second, except that now it'll be in a different sign. So whereas last summer, this conversation between Saturn and Jupiter happened in the sign of Leo, now it will happen in the sign of Virgo. And this conversation will be repeated again in the month of May. But what's really interesting is that actually what's going to happen is these planets are going to kind of hold and hold a conversation for an extended period of time. They're not going that much what astrologers call out of orb. They're not going wildly off in two different directions. Actually, what's happening now is Saturn is slowing down to stop and will be going retro very soon. And in May, when they have their third and final conversation, it will be Jupiter that stops and goes direct. So both of these planets in very potent positions as they're having these series of rare conversations. This week, it is Saturn that is more dominant. In fact, I would say the ancients used to say that the further out a planet, the slower moving that planet, the more powerful it is, the more dominant it is in any given celestial conversation. So think about what is taking place right now, and I've been talking about it. I made special videos about it. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it even more in the weeks and months ahead. It is this conversation happening between Saturn and Neptune, right? Saturn and Neptune are speaking in a series of rare conversations. In that conversation, Neptune is the further out planet. Neptune is the slower planet. Neptune wins in that conversation. Right now, Saturn is in the sign of Sagittarius. It is asking us to look at where it is that we create divisions with each other, whether it is divisions among borders or otherwise, where it is that we think of us versus them, and where it is that a lot of that, and what Neptune is asking us in that, is to look at how, maybe it's not really real. Maybe that's kind of an illusion. Maybe it is that everyone and everything is connected. And so in that conversation, even though it is a conversation of tension, Neptune wins. We're moving towards greater compassion. We're moving towards greater unity on a collective scale. And we'll see more and more evidence of that over the course of this year. Because it's a conversation of tension, we're becoming aware that we need this in ways that don't always feel comfortable, personally and collectively. But I absolutely believe and I absolutely have faith we're moving in the right direction. And we're moving towards a greater sense of interconnection. Neptune is the modern ruling planet of Pisces. Jupiter is the ancient ruling planet of Pisces. So in some ways, broadly speaking, in some ways they have a certain similarity because they do have, both of these planets have to do with that connection, that communion, that knowing that everything and everyone is a reflection of you and is a part of you. But what's happening right now is that Jupiter and Saturn are speaking, and Jupiter is faster than Saturn. So in this conversation, Saturn is more dominant. You add to that, Saturn is more potent right now, is in a particularly heightened state, as Saturn is slowing down right now to a standstill. Very soon, this month, will go retro. Saturn is the dominant player in this conversation. But it will be the next conversation that happens in the month of May, the final conversation, where Jupiter will be at least an equal, at the very least, because Jupiter will be standing still and preparing to go forward, preparing to go direct. Or at least will be newly direct, rather, I should say. So we'll be in a dominant position at that time. So right about now, and as this eclipse is happening, as these messages are coming seemingly out of nowhere, and even though everybody kind of knows this is coming, there's still a certain surprise quality to this. And all of us are feeling this, again, collectively and individually. And as I look at this, this says to me that, it's possible right now that we're going to find comfort in those separations. We're going to find comfort in a sense that this is how it is, and this is my people, and those are not my people, and that kind of thing we might see playing out collectively. But at least now we'll get a sense of illumination with it as well. Even though this is the second of 3 meetings, and even though the final meeting isn't going to take place until May, these planets are not going to be too far out from their conversation. So what that means, astrologers would say they'll remain within a tight orb, enough that this conversation is actually going to hold for a little while. This can be great when we see what it is that our ideals are and where it is that our actions, Jupiter in Virgo, what's the action? What's the plan? Are we following the plan? Are we being real with ourselves? Are we actually putting into practice what it is that we believe? That is Jupiter in Virgo. And then there's Saturn saying, check in with yourself. Is this in accordance? Does this align with your sense of values? Does this align with who you know yourself to be or not? And if it doesn't, at least be honest about it. At least be real with yourself. And at least be willing to the best of your ability, at least be willing to consider another perspective as to why that could be. And I think that that's what this eclipse, and that's particularly what Mercury is going to allow us at that. Of course, we have to think about what's happening on the collective, right? And some of the main things that are taking place in the news right now without being overly specific. I do want to say, as I look at this can be a time, Mercury is the media. It's a lunar eclipse coming out of nowhere. We can expect some very surprising news of a decision that a major news organization makes right about now, as they are evaluating, as more than one right now. And we're already starting to see this with last week, Mercury squared Saturn. I spoke about that last week. Now, this is going to start implementing on a wider scale, where more people are going to be saying, let's hold ourselves accountable. And this works out personally as well. We're looking at what we give attention to, what words are we using, what it is that we are holding in our thought and in our mind, and is it actually getting us where we want to go on a personal level as well. So this is part of our collective understanding, but I do think there's going to be at least one news organization that is going to surprise us right about now with a decision about what they're going to focus on and what they no longer desire to focus on. We can expect that to play out, and yet this is a time when personally that truth really can set us free. And a part of affirming this truth is that Venus is going to do what Mercury did last week. So think about what was happening with Mercury in the last little while, as I spoke of last week as well. Mercury met Neptune in the sky, right? Now we have Venus meeting Neptune in the sky. Venus will stand across from Jupiter. We'll have a conversation of tension with Saturn, and will speak in harmony with Pluto. These are all conversations that recently Mercury made, okay? So this isn't coming out of nowhere. But now we bring love to it. Now it isn't just about what's happening on a level of, well, I know I should and I could, and oh yeah, I see that in myself, I could make a better decision. But now it reaches heart. It reaches a deeper understanding. It reaches a level where, okay, if I was a person who loved myself, what would be different right now? That's a powerful question to ask, but the truth is, here's the thing, and one important thing to realize. If you're asking yourself that question, then you're already demonstrating a supreme amount of self-love. I do believe that very strongly. Because a person who loves themselves has that ability to say, okay, if I loved myself, they have that ability to even recognize where it is that they could be doing something more gentle, more loving, more caring towards themselves. Not being hard on yourself, but understanding that there's something deeper at play, and where is it that you can work on changing that. So Venus is having all these conversations. Venus is money to a certain extent, love, of course, as well. Including value of self, what we believe about ourselves, our self-worth. And this is going to be that invitation to have a hard look at where our reality is not matching the ideals that we believe we have, where it is that we could be making changes, not in a way that necessarily, like, beating yourself up doesn't get you anywhere except more of what you're beating yourself up over. And so this is a chance for us to take a more gentle approach, but still be real as to where it is that we could be living up to a higher standard in our own life. Some people will experience this in the context of relationships. Some people will experience this more personally, and a small number of people may experience this in the context of their finances or their work situation. But regardless, this is an important conversation that we all are having. This idea of where is it that the truth can actually lead to greater love? Where is it that we can look at where we're wasting energy, money, our affections, and where it is that we're ready to place them in safe hands, where it is that we've held back out of fear, and where it is that we're ready now to transcend that one step at a time. And of course, there are no accidents. The fact that all of this is happening at the same time suggests to me that with this eclipse, a lunar eclipse at that, emotions being very much on the surface, heart is also going to be very much on the surface as well. The big picture will be very much on the surface as well, as all of us have a strong desire right now to move towards a more grounded reality, to move towards an understanding that stuff, things, opportunities can come. New beginnings are possible. In order to allow those new beginnings to take place, sometimes the universe asks that we create a little space. Sometimes the universe asks that we create a whole lot of space. But however much space needs to happen right now, trust it. The universe is wise and loving, especially during the eclipses where things can change very rapidly. And yet, they are changing in absolute perfection. Well, thank you so much to everybody out there. Thank you for watching the introduction. I'm so very grateful for it. And again, happy Equinox, happy Equinox, and happy International Astrology Day. To me, of course, astrology is such a huge part of my understanding of self. It's become such a huge part of where it is that I have learned to trust myself even more, and how it is that I have learned to move myself into the future, or I should say rather, am learning to move myself further into the future more and more each day, loving myself even more and more each day. And my hope, of course, is as I'm learning to do that, we're doing that together, all of us. And of course, astrology has been this amazing vehicle that has allowed me to receive so many blessings. I couldn't even begin to count. And of course, you being here is a big part of that. So thank you so, so much. And of course, as you may know, I'm a person who I have been reminded, I think about how when I was growing up, a regular topic of conversation in my family. One of the things that we used to talk about, and my parents especially, my mom especially as well, is that, there were places in the world where women could not vote. And that there are people all over the world, in many different cultures, in many different contexts, people who have been willing to die just for that right to vote. And so I carried with me, and I came to understand at a really young age that I owe something to my ancestors. And that isn't about necessarily a physical thing, right? Yeah, sure, we can say there's a physical element. I have my physical ancestry, but each of us is part of an intellectual ancestry as well. This unites us. Each of us is part of a spiritual ancestry as well, and your spirit takes you there. It isn't about borders, it isn't about genetics. It's about where you are called to go. Your spirit leads you to your spiritual ancestry so that you can build on that and evolve that energy. And so I grew up with this understanding that in all things, in every way, I am actually standing on some very broad and very strong shoulders that I should always, always be grateful to. So I want to take this moment to thank so much all the astrologers out there right now who are part of putting this energy into the world, this energy of interconnection, this energy of knowing that each one of us, your life, has purpose, has meaning, has beauty, and has perfection to it, even if it seems chaotic, even if it seems uncertain. I know that astrology helped me through a very dark time, and now I'm so grateful to be able to use that, but I would never have been able to use that if it wasn't for all the people who sacrificed before me. So to them and to you, to the students of astrology out there, or the people that just are open to it, open to this message, open to this omen, I'm so grateful that you're here, and I'm so grateful that you're part of that energy that people have fought for, that people have died for, that people have been persecuted for, to affirm that the universe is wise and loving, to affirm that the universe is perfect, and to affirm that there is beauty playing out in your life right now. Even if it doesn't seem like it, you are moving in a direction of greater love in your own journey, as are we all. And I stand on those very broad shoulders, and I take that message and that responsibility really seriously. And this is the time of year, of course, that I get to remember that a lot more consciously, and I get to sit with it. And you being here allows me to do that, allows me to express my gratitude, and allows me to live that mission that really found me, that I didn't choose for myself, but found me. And for that, I am so, so very grateful. Thank you so much again. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, thumbs up. I'm so grateful for that as well. I love your questions. Please keep them coming. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, and the YouTube comments as well. Sometimes I'm asked questions that are a little bit more personal. If that's the case, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that. Look at your unique birth chart, answer your specific questions that are aimed just for you, uniquely for you. And you can learn more about that on my website, nadiyashah.com as well. Lots of areas of focus there. And very happy that so many people out there want my interpretation of the sky. Trust me to their birth chart. Trust my interpretation. It really does mean the world, if not the universe, to me. Thank you. So how all this wonderful stuff happening this week speaks to you and your sign out there is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. It is all about that eclipse in your opposite sign that is changing you and changing the way that you understand love, your current relationship, or the potentials that are there for you. It is other people who are going to get your attention now, and some of your major relationships going through important changes. For some of you, if you're in an established bond, this is very much, this particular lunar eclipse is very much make or break. It's very much about you being empowered, being brave, and being ready for whatever it is that comes, and for the changes that you know, in some cases you'll know, are long overdue. In other cases, may take you a little bit by surprise, but ultimately will just allow you to do what it is that you want to do anyways. In some way, if you're in an established bond, that relationship is going to be redefined. If you are one of those people very much in love, this can be that time that propels your relationship to the next level, and very quickly. So either you are going to have a moment that just brings you that much closer, that much more committed, and that much more certain that you are with the person you are supposed to be with, or it's going to go the other way. It's going to be you realizing that this is not the person that you're meant to be with, and making a choice based on that understanding. Your ruling planet, Mars, is speaking in supreme harmony with the Sun and Mercury. So whatever news finds you, whatever clarity comes to you, empowers you, allows you to feel happy, allows you to feel ready. That doesn't mean there isn't work or there isn't tough questions that you're asking yourself. Venus is having all kinds of conversations now. And so this does suggest that there might be some fear you need to overcome. There might be some resistance on your part, but the eclipse is the dominant energy now. And once you know, they say like once you know the truth, you can't go back. It's kind of like that right now in the sky, especially where it comes to your most important alliances, your most important partnerships. Those of you who are just getting to know somebody right now, this will be seeing this whole other side to them and seeing what's really going on here. And either, again, it will just propel you towards that person, or it'll go the other way. You'll be like, whoa, okay, I didn't sign up for that. And if you are open to meeting someone new, I like to say, if you just meet somebody, that person is not your therapist. So make sure you're not spilling your guts to just the first person you meet, because when I look at this, it just says like way too much information. And it really has you looking at yourself. It could be you who is sharing the information. It could be you hearing the information. But ultimately, there is nothing like, there's nothing like spilling your guts, right off the bat that will have another person running the other way. It's amazing how once you allow a person to know you just a little bit more deeply, just a little bit more better, it's amazing how much more receptive and understanding and delicate they are with, your own journey, with those things that are very sensitive. And we all have those things that are very sensitive. But if you just meet somebody and you're spilling your guts, then it just comes across like, okay, maybe you need to look at that before you're, looking at anybody else. Maybe you need to look at yourself. So it might be that moment where you get to look at that and you get to see that in yourself. Some of you may play this out more in terms of business alliances, And so if you work with somebody one-on-one, if you're aligned with somebody in order for the work that you do, then this is going to give you that chance to see that relationship differently, to either commit that much more deeply or to decide what isn't working, what has to change. With this eclipse, it is all about someone else. For others of you, I do think this eclipse is going to be about you seeing where you are in love, seeing what your feelings are, seeing what it is that your fears are in particular, and very possibly having that light bulb moment, having that moment of insight that helps to empower you, to move you in a direction that is more in alignment with the future that you desire to create. If there ever was a good time to actually see a therapist, this can be that time, right? This can be a good time to actually make that appointment to see somebody that you can talk about those more personal things to help facilitate, to use this energy to serve as a catalyst. But just keep in mind, ultimately the information, the contemplations that come, that make the biggest difference, are the ones that you didn't necessarily expect. Hello, fabulous Taurus. Your ruling planet, Venus, is very active now. And early in the week, there's a lot of idealism, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of belief magnified now, and it might be fueled by a friend. Some friendships are awesome, okay? Other friendships, maybe they fuel sides of us that are less than awesome. And so what you want to watch is, make sure that you're not, well, look, at the end of the day, I do believe that important connections have a very strong karmicness to them, and you may be finding that now. It is important though, and it's good to check in with yourself to ensure that you don't have people around you who are just kind of telling you what you want, or are indulging parts of you that ultimately are not very healthy or not very well. Indulging parts of you that you can recognize and see that this isn't who you want to be. That is possible now. And so if someone is indulging now, it could be a habit, it could be a state of mind, it could be other forms of escapism, it could be substances, or it could be something as gentle as emotions, and not so gentle, but strong emotions that you hold and you dwell in that are not getting you where you want to go. So this is that chance to have that evaluation, to decide if this person serves where it is that you desire to be and where it is that you desire to go or not, and to decide how it is that you're going to move forward from there. What I do really like about this week for you is that there is an element of reflection, and there is an element there of you looking at your life, looking at what could you actually do day in and day out to start empowering yourself in sometimes small ways and in sometimes bigger, more notable ways. There is something playing out now that does suggest you are having that deepening of an understanding of where significant change can be had, where a little bit of clever maneuvering and a smart move can allow you to be especially effective, so that you are a force of transformation, not only in your own life, but in the lives of others. Where it comes to love now, again, your ruling planet Venus is hanging out in a part of the sky that has to do with friends. Friends are going to be a huge part of how this week pans out for you, romantically speaking. And again, a friend might, really just give you some advice that goes the totally wrong way. So just be mindful of that, whether they intend to or not. And also, if you know that, if you like somebody, you're interested in someone, you're connected with someone, and something in you knows that something's not right, and yet somebody's telling you, like, it's okay. It's okay that you're there. Don't worry about it. It indulges the part of you you're seeing that you don't like. That should tell you something about yourself. But also watch the other way as well. If someone is discouraging you from a path that is right for you in terms of where you're drawn to, where your heart is leading you, then that's also a signal, because ultimately that is what it comes down to. It's about trusting something deep within you to guide you to your lessons, to your learning, and to understanding love that much more deeply. Those of you in an established bond, I think that bond is going to grow that much closer, that much tighter as you are making plans with this person to create greater prosperity together for each other and to integrate each other into each other's lives that much more. Maybe work on something together, work-related project that you believe and that it looks pretty obvious can create greater and greater prosperity for both of you with just a little more time and a little more nurturing. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week, we've got your ruling planet Mercury standing across this lunar eclipse, and also having very empowering conversation with Mars. And then we've got this eclipse happening in fellow air sign Libra, which means you are one of the signs. All the air signs out there will be able to work with this energy that much more easily, benefit from this energy that much more. This particular eclipse speaks to romance, speaks to kids, speaks to fertility as well, and speaks to an abundance of ideas, a windfall kind of energy with you now. The tip or the advice or the insight, the reflection comes very quickly, very suddenly, and it's going to require you to trust your instincts and move. Trust your instincts and make that jump. I also think that this is an energy that says that it might actually be a friend that gives you that tip, that gives you that advice, that makes all the difference. And I also think that there's an energy here that speaks about defining your lottery ticket. So I do believe that everyone out there, all of us on some level inside, we have our own lottery ticket. We have something within us that can create a windfall for us, and it's different for everybody. And what that windfall is different for everybody as well. For some people, that windfall is having a family, having lots of kids, right? That's their definition of a windfall. For other people, it's different. It's about doing work that's rewarding. And for other people, it's about doing as little work as possible, right? So it's different for everybody. But we all have that thing within us where if we trust it and if we're willing to take that risk and know that maybe most of the times it won't work, but we're still, building that muscle of self-trust, of trusting our instincts to lead us where it is that our own unique windfall is going to find us, we will be led in the right direction. Sometimes in a twisty road, but we are going to be led in that direction. So this week with this eclipse, you get some powerful insights into what your proverbial lottery ticket is. So for some of you, it may end up being fertility, right? If you've been wanting that, if you've been wanting a child, this can be a time when you get the answer to make that happen. If you don't want that, this energy can manifest in a whole lot of different ways. But if you have children already, this can be hearing some really great news, empowering news that spurs you forward and that helps you to feel that not only is your child doing amazingly, but that you have support, you have people who are helping you in this process, and that there's good news all around, there's happiness all around. This can also be a time of some wonderful turnarounds. If there's been anything going on with your child that you've been uncertain about, this can be a time where good news finds you. And then, of course, there is the romantic windfall. This can be a flirtation that really changes a lot of things within you, empowers you, helps you to understand your direction, your future. Strong chance now, if this plays out in love, strong chance that there's real promise here. There's a lot of energy speaking to a flirtation that seems to wake you up for the better, make you aware of the feeling of life and being alive and embracing life that much more. And it's just sheer fun right about now if you're open to love. If you have love, then that's great. That also can be a time, this can be a time of a lot of happiness with that person. This energy can also be a creative project, so you can indulge in that. And also, I gotta say, because I said the proverbial lottery ticket, this could be an actual lottery ticket. Now, I will say this. If you are a person who is born right around the 25th of the month, okay, give or take 5 days on either side. But if you're born right around that time frame, you are going to feel this energy more than most. So I would actually say like right around the 25th, between the 20th and 25th, you're going to feel this energy particularly strongly. If you're born within, the last week of any given month, you will likely feel this energy that much more. But every sign out there will be feeling this energy. Wherever you're born in any given day of any given month, you'll feel this energy, certainly. There is something here that indicates you being made aware of where you could place a bet that could pay off big time. So it's about trusting not only your instinct, but trusting the prompt when it comes. And also know that if it's meant to be, if it's a bet you're meant to make, it won't feel stressful. It won't feel like you have to bet the farm or take a loan out or, take money you don't have or have any fear around it. The best rewards come naturally. They come when you can either take it or leave it. They come when you're already in that zone of knowing you have everything you need. So stay connected to that energy, knowing that it will only lead you to greater abundance. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week, the eclipses, you feel them more than any other sign out there, and that's because it's the moon, your ruling luminary. So what's happening with the moon, especially an important event like a lunar eclipse, you're going to feel it that much more. And this particular lunar eclipse is happening at the very base of your sky, your house in the sky. So it is your home that is going through a whole other perspective. You're seeing things very differently. You're admitting to yourself what's in your heart, what's on the surface, and in some way are being called to home, an inner home, and also the literal home as well. So it could be where you live that goes through changes. It could be where you are right now that is going through changes in terms of you moving, or just in terms of the aesthetic, might be going through some changes as well. But ultimately, these changes do seem to be positively energizing. I also think, as I look at this, that it's very possible now with this energy that there's a part of you that is going to start opening up to a sense of vision, a sense of direction, a sense that you're doing what you need to do and that greater things are coming, that you're in the path towards manifesting bigger and better things. So because of that commitment, because of that clarity, it's only going to help you to build more and more. But it's about nurturing the hope, nurturing the positivity, and not necessarily giving in, or rather acknowledge where it is that you're going to have uncertainty. You're a human being. There might be uncertainty that pops up from time to time. Acknowledge it, and then focus on where it is that you do have power. Focus on what it is that you can do. So we've got this energy playing out on the home front. We've got you looking within. What do you really need? Where is it that you feel safe and secure? And what is it that, from a place of self-knowledge and self-acceptance, from that place of knowing that you have that inner home strong within, you're able to go out and do what it is that you need to do. So we've got all that playing out, knowing that you're in alignment. We've got that playing out. And then we also have, of course, your family of origin is part of home as well. And so it could be your family of origin where some good news could come in, or all of a sudden you got to be somewhere to be with them, and ultimately ends up being a very empowering experience all around. There ends up being some sharing, some caring, some insights, some encouragement, and some positive energy to help you to build on that and to continue to go on your way. So there's a lot of strength now with you, and there's a steady sense of growth taking place thanks to this eclipse and the clarity that comes as a result. What I also really like about now, where it comes to matters of love, matters of heart, it is about love taking you on an adventure. That's what's happening right about now. Love is taking you on an adventure. So it becomes a very interesting process. It becomes a very interesting thing. Whether you're in an established bond, if you are in an established bond, this can be a time of travel plans, of thinking what you could do together, where you could go together, and that is literally or proverbially. And it is about understanding what you could do right now to make great things happen together. And if you are just getting to know somebody or open to getting to know somebody, then this can be a time when you're considering your place in the world in relation to other people showing you that world differently. So it's likely now that you'll attract some people who have a very different way of looking at things, maybe a very different political persuasion or spiritual or religious persuasions that get you to see the world in a way that you didn't before. For some of you out there, it'll be enlivening, it'll wake you up, it'll excite you. For others out there, it might make you a little uncomfortable. You might be like, whoa, okay, that is not what I think of as reality. So there might be some of that for a small percentage of you out there, but regardless, it does look like you're in the game and you're having fun, you're learning about yourself and you're learning about others in the context of love. Hello, fabulous Leo. This week, your ruling luminary, the sun, is having a powerful conversation with Mars, hand in hand with Mercury in the sky, speaking with this eclipse. To me, this is heightening that level of mind, that level of perception, and that level of intellectual clarity as to where you are and where it is that you desire to go, what it is that you need to do, but also what it is that you desire to know, whether it is on a level of joy, whether it is on a level of curiosity, or actually learning a skill as part of you feeling more fulfilled, as part of you feeling stronger, as part of you feeling like life is moving in a positive direction upward, that you are growing. And it is also a time where I think wherever it is that you felt that the energy or life or progress has been stagnant, wherever it is that you feel that you want more growth than is actually happening, this is going to be a time of making that evaluation, of getting really clear if you want to continue on this path. Now, it could be a professional path, it could be a path closer to the heart, but this is that time where you get to decide, is this working or not? And if it isn't, you're going to accept that, you're going to embrace that, and move yourself powerfully forward with clarity and with inner wisdom. And a lot of this wisdom, I think, is just going to find you. It's like it just visits you. It's like, oh wow, where did that come from? I did not see that coming. And ultimately, you know, I do believe that we are older souls than ever before. We've all had many core experiences repeatedly again and again. And that memory is in our spirit, right? It's always there. It's just about bringing it forward. And I also think that when we think about what is wisdom, when we think about the core truths, they're actually pretty simple and they are very universal. We see them expressed again and again throughout history. They've been said again and again, and throughout really our modern world, our ancient world, spiritual leaders that have lived are essentially, you know, they may have unique ways of articulating things, but are affirming the same truths again and again. And I feel like there are going to be some of you out there where literally I feel like you're just going to have this moment where you realize that you've glimpsed some wisdom, you've glimpsed some truth that gives you a whole other way of looking at your life right now and looking at how things are playing out, seeing it from a more meta level. And what I mean by that is not only seeing it from a perspective of heart, and that's really important because when you see things from a level of heart, for you uniquely, you are most comfortable. It is your heart that is sort of the part of the body. Every sign rules a part of the body. For you, it's the heart. And it is when your heart is expansive, it is open, when something reaches you on a level of heart that you find yourself. And this is what this week promises for you. Now, that pathway to self may come through intellect, it may come through mind, or that pathway might come through more passionate ends, through considering your guiding principles. However, regardless, it leads you back to you. Of all the signs out there, I do think that you are one of those signs that is going to feel the positive energy amplified that much more. And this is true in the context of love. It could be a flirtation that helps you to, you know, really have a deep understanding. If you're in an established bond, then this can be a time when you're making moves, you're forging ahead, if you will, and considering what future holds for you together. And if you are just getting to know someone, if there's someone in your periphery, then this is going to be a time when you're going to be feeling your heart expand that much more. You feeling that resonance and really, this is an energy that's very passionate, if I may say. And so you'll be feeling that, but some of that passion will come through mind. So keep that in mind as well. It's one thing to feel it, which is a big part of your strength, but it's another thing for someone to say it and it makes sense. It reaches your heart through the words that are expressed. Sometimes those words come about in mysterious ways, and sometimes they change us in mysterious ways at that. Where you do want to be mindful, especially if you're in an established bond, is finances, joint finances in particular. So if you are in an established bond, your spouse's income is, part of the picture of your life in some way, then this can be a time where there's some adjustments that take place, some changes that take place. This could be a time when you are reconsidering the relationship you have in relation to the financial agreements that you hold. So that's one very kind of literal way that this energy can play out. But it does look like there's some negotiating, some reconsidering around those ends. Money and love together in established bonds, that is. And if you're open to meeting someone new, you've got lots of energy playing out now to make that happen. If you need somebody, if you've been thinking, if your sibling or cousin or neighbor has been saying that they want to hook you up with somebody that they know, this is the time that you may want to consider going on that date. Whether or not it actually works out, it will make an impression that makes a big difference, that empowers you and leads you to greater happiness almost immediately. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week we've got an active sky for you. It's Venus standing across the sky from you in your opposite sign, doing all kinds of things. That is going to be important. But I have a feeling, they say for love or money, we've got that playing out for you particularly. We've got an eclipse happening in a decidedly financial part of the sky for you. So there's a part of you that is thinking about the money that you are making. And with this eclipse, it looks like it could be one source of income ending and another beginning. Because as there is this ending energy, if you will, at the same time, it looks like you are empowered. The ending is happy. The ending makes you feel stronger, makes you feel like you've got momentum in your life, makes you feel like you are progressing forward. If you are working in anything home related, so you sell houses, you work from your home, you go to people's homes. If you're in anything like that, and that's a very broad umbrella at that, then this is going to be especially lucky for you, where you start to consider new ways, different ways that you can expand your reach and that you can create greater prosperity for yourself. But when there's an eclipse in the sign, a financial part of the sky, it brings the changes to your finances. Some of those changes might be surprising. It might be just very much by surprise that opportunities seem to come out of nowhere. It may be a conversation that makes you realize that you could be doing something different, and that makes all the difference. It could be very much by surprise that one client leaves or a project ends, but know that, in the next breath, another one begins, because you are being empowered and you are jumping forward. In the bigger picture, you are definitely jumping forward. So don't indulge in that split second of uncertainty. Don't give that as much energy as all the possibility that is revealing itself to you. In matters of love, Venus in your opposite sign having all kinds of power conversations. This suggests to me that a partner is going to be very significant to you now. If you're in an established bond, if you have a relationship already, then your partner is going to be going through some of their own stuff, and you've got to be there, sort of as a witness, as an emotional support. And if you're open to meeting someone new or just getting to know somebody, then this particular energy can play out in unique ways and different ways that has you seeing this person from different perspectives. Keep in mind, though, also with Venus meeting Neptune, doing all these things, as I mentioned in the introduction, if you meet somebody early this week, it might not all be as it seems. Give it a few days, let it play out towards the later part of the week, and things will become a lot clearer as to who it is that you've attracted into your life and what it is that you can learn right now because of them. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week we have got an active sky and you are at the center of it. You are the most important player now with an eclipse happening in your sign. Talk about a defining moment. Talk about a moment that has you seeing yourself very differently. Who you are, what you want, what you're going for. And it reaches you on a level of identity. So it's about really that I am. That changes now, where some information finds you and empowers you to make a change, where some truth, you know you've been changing, but you've been hanging on for all kinds of different reasons. Now you accept it, that you no longer are who it is that you were, and you're gonna honor yourself and you're gonna accept it and you're gonna move forward from there. And it really is okay. Truth, there is a truth that you could say is constant, yes, right? There's empirical truth. And then there is truth that's a little closer to heart, sort of like your philosophical truths, if you will, the truth of what you believe is right, okay, of ethics. There is a measure of, whether you want to say fluidity, or at the very least, let's say, there is a measure of judgment that comes into play. There is a measure of what's right for you in this moment that comes into play as well. And there's also an understanding that ultimately we do the best with where we are. We do what it is that we can with the resources we have, with the way that we interpret our past, with all the things that have brought us to this moment right now. We're doing our best, but we all are always a work in progress as part of understanding ourselves that much more deeply. So because of this and how this energy is playing out, it does suggest that you're ready to embrace another understanding of yourself. And that is going to be defined largely by what ends now. Some way that you thought you always were going to be, you realize you no longer are. You're ready to let that go. And this is meant to empower you. This is meant to shape you in very positive ways and define you in super positive ways now and into the future. Where it comes to matters of heart, where it comes to matters of love, so much of this time is really about you. The spotlight is on you. And so it is, if it's possible, okay, it is possible that there's a way of being where it comes to understanding what you need to feel cared for that could go through some changes now, which will change what it is that you want in love and partnership. It's possible now that there is some change in what you know love is, what you want in love. That can go through some changes and that can speak to what's happening with you. And it can also be that you see your own resistance to love, how you have been, and you resolve to be different now. There's a strong sense of clarity that makes you strong, that wakes you up, that propels you forward. That clarity might come through a key conversation or an attraction. And this is the time to trust those attractions, because whether or not they pan out to something in the immediacy, they will have an impact, a big impact into who you know yourself to be. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we've got an active sky. So much is happening. For you, you've got Venus in a very romantic part of the sky, having all kinds of conversations that kind of, if I may say, can kill the romance. And Venus is speaking with Saturn, meeting Neptune now, standing across Jupiter, but ultimately also speaking in harmony with Pluto, your modern ruling planet. You add to that your ancient ruling planet, Mars, speaking in supreme harmony with the Sun and with Mercury, says that you make the most of what comes up now. You're propelled forward based on what comes up for you now, and you come to understand yourself and the direction you're going in that much more clearly. You know what steps to take. You glimpse the truth that you need so that you are empowered towards experiencing more love, more romance, more joy, and a greater sense of fulfillment, creative and otherwise. So there's a greater sense of happiness ultimately building now, but there's also an understanding that some of the greatest happiness incorporates and involves some amount of sacrifice. It's all about how you're defining it. I also think, as I look at this, for those of you out there who maybe have not been working so much with doing what you need to move yourself in a direction of greater happiness, this is going to be a time when you commit to that path. So if there's something you know you want to achieve and you know that it requires a lot of small steps to get you there, you know this, right? This is something that you innately understand, that a little bit at a time can transform just about anything. And so if you have been putting that off or, making excuses or whatever the case may be, this is where you get that insight that you need that makes all the difference, that helps you to see and commit to those smaller steps. Also, there's an element here, when I say sacrifice, I also mean delayed gratification. So there's an element here playing out of that delayed gratification, of that understanding that, okay, yes, I want this, but I know that if I just wait a little bit, if I reward myself afterwards, then the rewards will be that much greater. And that delayed gratification, or redirecting gratification, so that what it is, instead of having that instant, that instant reward, instead understanding that there are higher rewards that you're going for, and they might take a little bit of time to pan out. You just need to give them that energy. Well, now you see it and you commit that much more deeply to it. What you don't want to do is to get into any place where you feel like what you want is impossible. Of course it's not, you know that. But it does look like a part of you feels that what you really want is far. What would ultimately make you really happy is at a distance. That doesn't give you a lot of power. It's great to estimate that. It's great to be honest with yourself about that. But ultimately, it's what you do that empowers you. And this week, there's lots happening to support some powerful empowerment for you. But it's about you being willing to recognize it. Where it comes to love now, Venus is the ruling planet of your opposite sign, having all these conversations. This all suggests to me that love might be a part of your understanding of happiness now. What's happening in terms of an established bond, what's happening in terms of new people that you may be meeting or getting to know, is all part of a bigger picture now of you understanding personal happiness and satisfaction that much more deeply. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week, your ruling planet Jupiter is standing across Venus now. Jupiter at the very top of your sky, standing across Venus at the very bottom of your sky. So when planets are set up like this, it tends to denote a super important time. It tends to denote a time that feels especially consequential. Because of the planets involved, there's a certain dreamy quality to this, but Saturn nearby does suggest that there's an anchor there in place that's allowing you to make more honest evaluation than you might otherwise. And it's about trusting it. If you know the truth, if you can feel it, trust it. And a lot of times situations will give themselves away in language, in the voice. And it's about being willing to see it that makes all the difference now. So for some of you out there, this energy could play out in terms of wanting to recover something that might have been lost. So you might have lost something. Now this is, figuratively or literally, and someone's promising you a return to that. Again, it could be a feeling. It could be something that you had hoped for, but it could actually be a literal thing. That promise is great, but if you are feeling something, I would say, make sure that person has the proof, really is what it comes down to. I had a friend and she put up signs for her lost dog, and somebody called her and said, yeah, I have your dog, but can you please send me some money so I can get to you? I'm in a whole other state. That should give you some alarm bells, right? Right away, alarm bells went off. She's like, can I hear the dog? And the person, I don't actually have the dog right now. She knew that something's going on here, something's not right. And it's about acknowledging that and knowing that ultimately, even if you really want something, if you feel that something's not right, it's okay to honor that. And it's okay to sit with that. It's okay to trust that as well. Because ultimately we make decisions for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes we're conscious of them, why those reasons are. Sometimes we are not. One sort of ray of hope, one area that you could go to is your friendships. Talk to your friends now. They'll help you see things in a whole other light, from a whole other perspective. They'll help restore you to a sense of faith, restore you to a sense of clarity. And even if some of that truth is a little hard to accept, it looks like you are running with it. You are empowered by it. Remember, we have got the Sun and Mercury meeting, speaking with Mars in your sign as part of the eclipse that's taking place now. So it is certainly friends that can open up that window for you understanding what happiness is that much more, even what love is as well. They can help you to understand love. But ultimately, this energizes you, this empowers you, you're making changes, and you're understanding what the most effective changes are so that you can move your life in a positive direction, the direction that you desire to go. And that includes romantically speaking. It could be friends that help you clarify your pathway in love as well right now. If you are in an established bond, if you're with somebody, then this can be a time when you are feeling a sense of security and a sense of energy for having that particular connection. If you are, for some of you out there, I gotta say, if you don't know somebody that well, or you're just getting to know somebody, or even if you are open to meeting somebody new, just be mindful, because it looks like friends can have a perspective, and in some cases it might actually empower you, right, and encourage you on. In other cases, it might, have you looking at things with, a more discerning eye that doesn't necessarily need to be there right now. So keep that in mind. People are kind of reflecting each other anyways. People are kind of, having a sense of perspective anyways. And so it is about you saying, okay, I understand this is your perspective. Now, what do I think? And that really is when you are at your best, when you stay connected to self and when you trust yourself. There's a sense of truth that guides you. And that truth can be in the moment. It can be in the smallest moments, and it can be in a larger perspective as well. But if you stay connected to that, not only will it lead you towards having a greater sense of where it is that greater opportunity, greater prosperity is going to find you, but also greater security, and that includes the security of love. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week, very active sky now, eclipse happening at the very top of your sky, making this one of those defining moments. You are moving in a direction of greater success. You're certainly moving in a direction of making some kind of power move that will make a big difference. And you're being energized, you're being changed in the process. What I do really like about what's playing out for you now is that the energy now does speak to not only big achievements and big accomplishments, but there's also a sense now of you feeling energized, you feeling more open, you feeling like you have the support that you need within and the confidence that you need within to make a very bold move. Now, this move, ultimately, there's a strong karmicness to this, okay? So keep that in mind. It's almost as if I'm seeing some of your, a little window opening up that has you making a jump, making a play that is based on what you've already done, based on connections you've already forged, based on the goodwill you've already built up. Or this also could be playing out slightly differently. This can play out in another way that has to do with the goodwill that you've built up karmically as well. All the things that have brought you to this moment, if you're so inclined, even way going back, right? And so all the things that have brought you now to right where you are, very ready now for a change in terms of career, in terms of progress, in terms of momentum going forward. Those of you born right around the 25th of the month are going to feel this energy more than most. I would say if you were born in the last week of the month, particularly last week of December, you're going to feel this energy that much more. But all Capricorns out there are going to be feeling aligned with this, are going to be feeling energized by this, and are going to experience that proverbial window opening and that chance to take your shot. You utilize it well. It looks like you're well prepared. It looks like you are certainly awake. There's a strong awake quality with this lunar eclipse. And it looks like the right messages, the right information finds you, and probably finds you at home as well. But the right information comes that allows you to take advantage of the connections, the feelings, the talents, the gifts, the goodwill that have already been there, that are there, but are now revealing themselves more fully. Where it comes to love now, we've got Venus moving through part of the sky for you that has to do with talking it out and having a conversation. But we also have we've got some stuff here that's confusing, some stuff here that has to do with having the tough conversation. So keep that in mind, because as much as there might be a desire to connect with others, things might not sound the way that they are, especially if you're communicating with someone through text or online. Things can end up getting really confusing, where one minute you're seeing things in a really beautiful rosy way, and the next minute you're reading something that just feels like your heart just sinks a little bit. And so if that is the case, then this is a really good time for you to check in with yourself a little bit. Where is it that you're interpreting things? Where is it that you could be giving more of the benefit of the doubt? But also, keep in mind where it is and how much it is that you actually know about who it is that you're communicating with. So if you're in an established bond, have been in it a really long time, and you know how your partner is, you can kind of get the gist, you can kind of get the feel of things. But if you are just getting to know somebody, or you haven't even met them in person yet, then there's a lot more room there for you, right? You don't have that experience with them to know their subtleties. Take all of that into account now when meeting, communicating with the person you love or a potential love, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. We've got an eclipse happening right now, and it is in fellow air sign Libra. And this particular eclipse is happening in a part of the sky for you that has to do with the adventure. It has to do with considering your place in the world. And that can be on an intellectual level, that can be on a philosophical level, it can also be on a literal level as well. And this particular energy can bring with it the chance to travel very much by surprise. And it looks like it is a trip that is spurring you forward, that in some way is going to help you to feel like you are realizing and on the pathway to your hopes and your wishes and your dreams. But also, as I look at this particular eclipse does speak to you looking at what your beliefs are, what your ideals are. Like, where is it that you are in alignment with your values, your personal truth, and where are you not? And wherever that may be, wherever that gap is, you're going to get honest with yourself here. This is having that key conversation that gets you seeing things differently, has you planning things differently as well, so that you can start putting into place what you need to manifest bigger and better. If you feel like there's been any kind of gap there, like you haven't been doing enough to actually put a foundation down for your future, working on those longer term projects, then this is going to be that chance to understand what's really going on and to have a more effective plan going forward. Ultimately, though, I do think other people are going to be a key part of this. There is love there, there's friendship there, and it's all playing a part into what it is that you are envisioning for yourself now and what you believe is possible to you. So whether it's travel, whether it's education or higher education at that, whether it is a more personal philosophical understanding, ultimately it does empower you. And especially where it comes to joining groups as part of this empowerment, all of it works very nicely together. Where it comes to money, you want to watch love and money kind of melding and mixing together right about now. I do like that you're ruling, the planet that rules your opposite sign is the sun, speaking in supreme harmony with Mars in a part of the sky that is your home in the sky. This is good for love because it does suggest a sense of self-knowledge, a sense of ease as well, and a sense of knowing what it is that you want. If you are in an established bond, feeling like you have what you want and feeling happiness all around. If you are open to meeting someone new, it could be social situations that empower you that much more. But it's where it comes to money. Mixing love and money or overdoing it in terms of spending, where it is that there might be some, indulging on things that you don't really need, or just pouring a lot of money in a direction that isn't really gaining you any returns, you will get more honest with that. You'll get a clearer pathway forward, a clearer understanding of what you need to do now to improve your finances in the immediacy, but also in the bigger picture. So there's a little balance here, right? A sense of the wealth you desire to build, the great prosperity you desire to have, and at the same time looking at where you are and staying connected to an energy of prosperity, and yet being mindful right now of where you are and building on that, rather than living at a whole other level and underneath it all having a feeling that, I don't know about this, I don't know if I should be maxing out my credit card, that kind of feeling. You know, there's a sense of honesty that's taking place now, but also a big picture perspective that will ensure that you are staying focused on a higher direction, especially financially speaking, but you're also doing what you need to do now to ensure that financial future that not only do you envision, but you know is yours to have. Hello, fabulous Pisces. We've got Venus in your sign, and Venus in your sign is having all kinds of conversations right about now. And then you add to that an eclipse happening in the workspace and having to do with your clients, with your projects and your co-workers. When I see an eclipse like this, it can suggest some quick changes, ultimately that energize you, that, you know, that shake things up, bringing in fresh energy, part of it. But it could very well be that you see a coworker, likely more than one coworker, leave now. It could be that a client leaves right now as well if you're self-employed, but ultimately it looks right. Everything is falling into place quite beautifully and quite wonderfully at that. So there's a sense of you being propelled into the future. There's a sense of you gaining momentum now. And there's a sense of greater clarity, of a greater understanding that is part of moving you forward. And this is true where it comes to the work that you're doing, especially, but also on more personal levels as well. And that's because of Venus in your sign. A lot of you are going to experience this in the context of love. And so if you feel like the love you really want is at a distance or is far, don't get too hard on yourself. Don't get too, try not to get too hung up about it. And what I mean by that is it does look like there's a little bit of reality check moments. Where are your expectations real and where are they not? It's a good understanding to have, because ultimately it's like you're looking at yourself with this energy. So where it is that you need to make changes to, know that you're with somebody who's a human being, if you're in an established bond, to give them that permission to be human rather than to be some fantastical figure that you want them to be, then this is using this energy well. But for others of you out there, this might be one of those moments where it's like, this person has crossed that line too much. This person is, doing things or is in a way that is, constantly testing my deal breakers. If that is the situation, you're going to get honest with yourself about that. You'll get clearer with yourself about that. That'll only help you to gain momentum towards having the kind of love that you truly desire. If you're open to meeting anybody new now, you may very well be that attractive person. But I would say pace yourself. What looks really good at the very beginning of the week might not in just a few days down the road as we move towards the later part of the week. Also, I will say this, because of the way Saturn is speaking with Venus now, I feel as I look at this that be mindful of any kind of permanent or any kind of makeover things right about now, permanent physical changes like cosmetic surgery or tattoos or anything like that. You want to be mindful of that right about now, because it just looks like you have this ideal, you have this promise, you have this belief of a miraculous turnaround or something, and the reality is not that. So I would be mindful. I would say just wait it out a little bit if you can, because what you want is to have that balanced perspective. It's there for you to have, but you just want to be sure to acknowledge it and to see it. And I have a feeling as I look at this that if you go early in the week to meet somebody, you'll come away with this amazing, like, oh wow, all this can happen and it can be. And then you go back for your follow-up appointment, and that's when it sinks in, like, oh, okay, it might not be exactly what I thought it was going to be. And that's good. It's good to know all this stuff before you go ahead and make that dramatic change. But, this is if you're making like big sweeping personal permanent types of changes. But if you're just having fun with it, then I think have fun with it, right? It's just hair, as I like to say. But do know that it is possible that you might change your mind, and maybe some of the changes that you're looking at might not be practical. Some of the choices you make, even in terms of the clothes that you choose to buy early in the week, might not actually make sense for who you actually are. It might make sense for, who you are in a more fantastical sense, or who you want to be. But there's something empowering that happens when you focus on where you are right now today. There's something empowering that happens when you know that you are acknowledging not only where you are, but who you are, and you are celebrating that beauty right now instead of having some sort of vision or promise of what could be. Enjoy where you are right now, and that's the surest way to get to the type of joy, the type of love, the type of perceived beauty in any area of life that you desire. It is by being grateful for all that you are today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all signs out there. Happy Equinox, everybody. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.